Have you ever wanted to build an application for your business and didn't know how? Well, Power Apps can make everyone a developer, with or without AI. So in this session, we're going to walk you from the ground up, from not building any application at all to being a pro in Power Apps. So all you'll need for this session is a Power Apps license that comes with Office 365. There are also additional licenses you can use. We're going to make some compromises in this session to make sure everyone can get their hands dirty and play with us. So if you have an Office 365 license, you probably have everything you need. You'll notice in the description of this video, we have a way to download the Excel spreadsheet that we'll be using as our data source today. So we'll be building an application on top of that Excel spreadsheet, and there's some compromises we make with that. With Excel, it's not a full-on database, so it's not perfect in this case, but we're going to do our best to make it as good as we can. The application we'll be building is a project management system to track things like time cards as people enter data, enter different types of tasks they finished with a given project. That's a pretty typical example we see with most projects. So first of all, go to the description of this video and download the file. Let's take a look at my screen real quick and see what we'll do next. So you'll notice in this case, I've downloaded the file. I'm going to go ahead and open up my OneDrive, which is one of the requirements of this module. And if you are missing this module, don't worry, it's all good. We're going to provide you the full application after the class is done, also in the description of this video. Then I'm going to open up my OneDrive, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder somewhere off in the distance here. I'll call it Learn with the Nerds. Then I'm going to copy and paste that file into that folder, and that's what we're going to use as our database system. Again, Excel is not a database. You ideally would want this inside of something like SQL Server, Dataverse, or we could even use SharePoint on a whim also if you want to do that. But to make sure everybody can have the free license and to make sure that you can actually install this easily and make it work for you, we went with Excel in this case, and we made some compromises, and you'll see those compromises as we get through this session also. Next, we want to make sure that we can open up Power Apps. So we'll go to make.powerapps.com. Looks like what you're seeing right here up top. Then hit Enter key. And you'll see a list of environments up in the upper right. Select that and choose whatever environment makes sense for you. It might say something like your company name default. It might also say your name on it. If you see one that has your name, choose that. So I'm going to go ahead and search for my name up top. In my case, I have quite a bit of them here in this case. And then I'll select my Brian Knight developer environment. But if you see personal productivity or the one that says your company name, that's absolutely fine also. Again, nothing we're doing today is going to be accessing anything outside of your organization. Everything is staying nice and tidy inside there. An environment basically equates to a server at Microsoft, like development, QA, and production. If you see one that has your name on it, it's typically a development environment. That development environment lets you do anything you want to in it, including some of the premium stuff inside of Power Apps, all included in that developer license. It's basically a forever free trial. If you want to see what license that you have, you can hit the gear box in the top right at make.powerapps and then select plans. Likely you're going to be seeing something that says like Office 365. That's probably the license you're seeing. But if you see something that looks like this, where it says Power Apps for Dynamics or the per user plan, those are like the premium licenses that will allow you to connect to other data sources like SQL Server and whatnot. All you need for this one is an Office 365 license for Power Apps. Now, after we have that, we're ready to create our first application. Before we do that, typically speaking, when you're doing this, a compromise that we're going to make as part of this session is you would typically create a solution first. However, because we want to make sure that you can do it without having super high-end security or super elevated rights or licenses, we're going to skip that step right now. You can find more about that on our other videos or in our training at learning.pragmaticworks.com. So the way we're going to start things, you'll notice there's an AI presence up top here. We can go ahead and ask it to build solutions. I have it because I had this new experience turned on. Some of you guys are likely seeing this, and that works fine also. Either way, no worries at all. I'm going to go over to Apps next on the left bar here. So you'll find apps on the left side. If you don't see apps, you can select that little button right there, or you can also hit more here as well. But I'm going to select apps, then we'll hit the new app, and we're going to start with a page design. Now you can start with data and it will build an app from your data. But in my case, we're hitting multiple tables inside of Excel. So I'm going to start with the page design. All right, then it's going to ask us what kind of design we want. Do we have like a gallery of connected data? Do we want to go ahead and use something like, in this case, it's using things like Dataverse here, SharePoint here, and Excel here. Well, we're going to keep it really simple. We're going to build it from scratch, and we'll do the header, main section, and footer right here. So we'll select this one of our common design structures you'll see. Header, footer, and then something in the middle there sandwiching all that. Now, while this is kind of building the template for us, a few things to note. We're building right now is called a Canvas application, and it's one of the many types of apps you can build inside of Power Apps. Now, the Canvas application works on any device that you want. So whether you have a Chromebook, a PC, or a Mac, or an iPhone, or an Android, or a tablet, does not matter. It will work on all those devices, and you build one code base to do that. So it may pop up a little wizard right here saying, hey, do you want to create a form or gallery? We're going to skip all that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say, don't show that again to me. And I'll hit skip. Now, a few things we want to do while we're thinking of this also. You'll notice that it creates 3 sections here. And I can hit this little play button, the top right. That will go ahead and play the application. Let me see what it's going to look like on different devices. So as you can see, we have the header, we have the footer, and we have our main section here sandwiched between. We can also go through and see things like, what does it look like on an iPhone? Can I see what it looks like on an iPhone now? What does it look like on an Android device? Or what does it look like on a browser here? So you can kind of play around and see different kind of models here of what it's going to look like. If you're happy with this, you can also hit the X to leave our design mode right here. And it'll have a did you know, and we'll go ahead and dismiss that and hit OK there again. So if you see those pop-ups happen later today, just dismiss them along the way. Next, we want to put a header up top and then a body of all the projects that we're servicing now as well. Before we do that, let's take a look at what our data looks like. I'm going to go over to that folder I used earlier, and I'm going to open up our designer, which shows you Excel, which shows us all the information we have. So to start with, you'll see a number of tabs here. We see a list of projects. These are all the projects we're going to show in our tab in a moment. All the different tasks for those projects that have already happened. And we'll see a list of employees here as well. Locations we're not going to use today, but employees we will use. So let's start by, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the content, or enable the content. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and reopen this again. It's giving me a little error here, so I'm going to go ahead and reopen it. I'm going to enable the content, in my case, because I'm going to enter a new employee. So your first step is to go to the very bottom. All right, you see all this is sample data. None of this is real here, of course. And then I'll go ahead to the last row here, and I'm going to put my name, and I'll put I'm going to make up an employee ID here. It doesn't matter. I'll do 51 to keep it nice and the same. And then I'll put my real email address. That will come into play a little bit later. All right, and I'll put Brian Knight, and none of the other information is required here. All right, so after we have that, we also can put a department there if you want. I'll put, IT, but none of this information is really required beyond the email address and my name and the employee ID you're seeing right there. Once we do that, that's the only step you have to do to get the data ready for you in this case. Now that we have that data ready, we're ready now to go back over. I'm going to keep this open so we can kind of come back here occasionally and watch it. But I want to show this project data on our first screen. And when you select a project, show me all the tasks that have already been built to that project, and then give me the opportunity to add new tasks as well. So let's go back to our screen again. All right, make sure you have it on OneDrive for Business, by the way, not OneDrive Personal. Next, let's go ahead and add that data source, and I'll show you kind of a quick tour of our environment. The first tab is you can kind of get a preview over in the right area, in the middle section right here. On the left area, we can see a list of all the controls that we've already added. So under the screen container, we see there's 3 containers. Containers give you the ability to make things responsive. So it shrinks and compresses based on certain screen sizes. So how does that look on an iPhone versus a PC? It will automatically shrink and compress that. We're only going to cover containers for a little bit today, but there's a lot more we cover in our classes on our on-demand platform or on our YouTube channel around that. Next, you'll see the plus button. This gives us a list of all the things we can add to these containers and to our screens. They call this a canvas application because it looks like PowerPoint. You can drag and drop things wherever you want on this screen. It will look just like that on every device we have. Next is our data. This is all different data sources we can pull data from. We have our variables right here, which we're not going to use today, and then a search box right here. You also have access to uploading media like logos, Power Automate, and you have things like advanced tooling for things like monitoring of your app and testing your app. You'll also see in the bottom left section a settings box. Go ahead and click on that with me now. We're going to open up our settings area, and this is where you can go do things like rename your app. I'll call mine Learn with a Nerd, Demo, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. You can change your icon, the description of your application, the header color, all those kind of things can be done right here. Not header color, but icon color, excuse me. Then we can go over to the display and say, who is this really designed for? It's designed for all screens in my case, but we're going to show a 16 by 9 by default. And you'll notice it will actually not scale to fit, so it's going to build the responsiveness we want in this automatically. So next, let's go over to updates, and I want to turn on the modern control and themes. Now, if you're falling a little behind, don't worry. This is being recorded, of course, and you can pause me at any time. You also can find much more information on our on-demand platform, and in case you're curious, you can, of course, ask in the chat window where I'm hanging out in the chat window answering all these questions right now that you might have. So let's turn on the modern controls underneath updates. And again, that's the only thing I did other than changing the name, and I'll hit close. So what does the modern controls give us? Well, when I go over to insert now, you'll see there's new stuff that I have now up top under recommended. So we'll come back to that in a moment, but what I want you to do is select this top section right here. Okay, with that top section selected, we can go ahead and search for under insert, or we can select insert up top and search right here for header. Once we have that search for, we can go ahead and select header by clicking on it. You also can do it over here if you want. Doesn't matter. However you want to do it, whatever you're comfortable with. There's no wrong way to do this, whatever you're comfortable with. It's going to add a header which automatically reads my picture, my name, the screen name, and my logo if I wanted to have the logo. Your properties pane on the right side will allow you to configure this header. So notice as I scroll down, we can see the direction of it. Let me select the header right here. See, I have the header selected. And as you look at this, we can see what is the title of the screen. Do you want to show the logo? I can turn it on and off. It'll kind of collapse it or not show it. Up to you. What logo do you want to show? You can upload the logo. And if you want to, you'll see the profile picture. Is it turned on? Is it turned off? It's up to you. And the logo's in there as well, right here. So if I had a logo, you can upload it and you'll see it right there. We're going to leave my logo off for the time being, but you can upload it very easily right here for your own company. We also can go through and change the title. Now, one of the things you can do, I showed you the left bar. I showed you this right page. You can also do things like click on the word header to change its name. I'm going to go to the far left where you see tree view, and you can see this matches right here. See, it's kind of a hierarchy here. So if you don't see header under header container, you might want to go ahead and delete your header, select the header container, and then re-add it again, and that might fix that for you again. But if I select header, you'll notice that my title has a little FX button on top of it. I can, of course, click on that, or you can click on the word title, and it will jump up top to where your code is. And what it's doing right now is it's reading this code right here is called powerapps, and it's reading the screen name, app.activescreen.name, which is called screen 1 in my case. If I happen to rename that, it would then rename this as well. So if I don't do this, but if I were to hit enter right here, it will then change that to match that. Oh, there it is. All right, takes a few seconds when I have to leave and come back for it to do that. That's all right, we'll just go ahead and keep it the same name. All right, in my case though, I want to change the title of this application by hitting the word title, and I'll take out the code that you see up here and put in double quotes, which means literally show this, how we call this, task management, and then put double quotes around it again. So we have double quotes, task management, double quotes, and you'll see it literally shows the word task management. Now in the middle section here, I want to see a list of all the projects that we have. So I hit that little plus button you see here. And then when I do that, you'll see vertical container. Vertical gallery, vertical gallery, So let's go ahead and select vertical gallery. Then we're going to go ahead and go over to, you can see there's no connections here right now. So I got a little bit of a problem here. I need to create those connections. So what you're seeing here in green are not Excel, they're Dataverse tables. And Dataverse is a database that Microsoft has inside of here that makes the loading and the security and all the governance of this much, much easier. It's my preferred place to store my data, but in this case, we're going to use Excel just to make things easier on y'all. All right, so let's go to our database icon on the left side. And right now, you'll see there's no data that my database has access. Again, I clicked away from here, this gallery, so I can kind of do that. And if you don't like that, you can also delete the gallery just by clicking in there and hit delete. But I'm going to hit the Add Data icon. And I'm going to type in the word in the search box here, Excel. Now, with Excel done, we want to look for Excel Online Business. There we go. Now, if you don't see connections here, simply add a new connection. I'll add one now so you can kind of see it from scratch here. You might already have connections out there, but I'm going to hit Add Connection just so you can kind of see the whole process. Then I see Excel Online Business. Perfect. That's what I want. I'll hit Connect. It's going to connect my account to Excel Online. And it's going to show me the list of folders that I have on Excel Online. I'm going to hunt for my folder and then go from there. So I could search for up here, Learn with the Nerds. I'm not going to do that right now though. And I'm going to search for, there it is. First option is a OneDrive for Business. So let's go ahead and click on that or search for it if you can't see that right here. I'll click on it. All right. Then I'll click on OneDrive again. All right, then, it keeps on popping up there. And then I'm going to look for Learn with the Nerds, LWTN. There it is. And then I'll select my Excel spreadsheet that I uploaded earlier. Selected. Check each of the spreadsheets that you have, and then hit Connect. Okay, first thing it's going to do is ask us to say, well, what represents a unique record for each of these worksheets? Do you want it to create one for you? Or do you want to do it manually? Because Excel is not a database, it needs something to make sure that each row is unique. So I'm going to go through and select, use a column of my choosing here under Excel spreadsheet. And for the employer table, I'm going to choose the employee ID. Perfect. I'll hit Connect, and it's going to start to add that. Now it wants the location. A little bit of a bug here. I have to go and select away from this, then come back to it. Then it lets me choose the location name. We'll do this 2 more times after that. I'll hit Connect again. Project Task, select away from it, then select it again, and then I'll look for Task ID. I'll hit Connect there. Then under Projects, I'll select away from it, come back to it, and then this time I'm looking for Project ID. Again, you could choose this first option. You're not going to break it by doing that, but then it assigns a nonsense ID that I don't want to show up in my reports later. So I'll hit Connect, and then we'll see these 4 data sources start to get added one by one. This might take a few minutes for you, it might take a few seconds for you. Again, you can always pause me, and I'm there to answer questions in the chat window with my team. So now that you've done that, I'll select my gallery, and you'll see when I select my gallery, if you don't see this, you can always click away, then come back, and you'll see it wants to know what data do you want. And I'll click on the word data. All right. So you might also see it gone like this. And if there is nothing there, it's the plus button. You hit your plus button, then you select the vertical gallery again, and then you point then to the table here, which was called Projects. There we go. Either way, it does the same thing. A gallery is how we can show data inside of our Power App Canvas application. Galleries can show pictures like you're seeing right here. In our case, our projects don't have any pictures. Or in our case, we just care about showing the project name and the department for that project. So I'm going to go and select this white area next to these names. And on the right side, you'll see Layout, where I'll select, just show me the title and subtitle. There we go. So I went Layout, title and subtitle. Now, if you ever see this gone away like this right here, you can always hit this little button right here to go back to property. So you can always call it out and bring it back at any time. All right, so we have project title and subtitle, but it's showing the wrong title. It looks like showing department here twice. So let's go and select where it says fields, 6 fields. I'm going to select it, and I want to show for title, I'm going to show the project name, and I'll leave the department there. So title will have project name, and department will have department, or the subtitle will have department. And then I'll click away from it. So again, the steps I did there, I changed the layout to title and subtitle, and then right above that, I hit the 6 selected, and I chose these 2 options right there. Now, this is nice, but it's not using all the real estate. Notice it's not stretched all the way across, and it's stretched too far down. So I want it to go all the way across and all the way down inside of it in the given container. So let's start by selecting the area down below. So right around here, which is Project Delta, select anywhere along here, which brings up one of our rules in galleries. First rule is nobody talks about Gallery Club because nobody cares. But the second rule of Gallery Club is if you select the first record, you can move it around wherever you want, and every record underneath it will then obey that. That is basically the first rule, is your first record is always your template. If you select the second record, it chooses the entire gallery. So there's 3 missions that we want here. The first mission is you want to go ahead and stretch this all the way widthwise inside this box right here. Second mission, all the way. See, it's a little bit longer than I want it to be, so the height I want. And the third mission is I want to make it use all the space here. So you make it 3 columns wide if my device supports it. So those are our 3 missions we're going to do next. For our first mission, I'm going to select the second row or third row, whatever, the whole gallery. Then, you see this from top left here? This is called your properties drop-down box. You'll see a list of all the properties that are also available on the right side. Actually, a little bit more. So it's more of a superset of that. So this is the way I'll prefer typically to find the stuff that you care about. So when you hit the drop-down box, your property drop-down box, look for at the very bottom, the width property, and select it. Notice right now it's hard-coded to 640 pixels. I'm going to go ahead and use whatever this box is. And we could call it out. We could say container whatever dot width. But in my case, I want to say, hey, my gallery, as you can see here, let me go over to my gallery here. You don't have to do this, but just kind of watch this. My gallery belongs to main container. So I could say main container 1 dot width, which means stretch the entire width of main container. But in my case, if I say parent dot width, it will go 1 level up to this container. That we can change its name very easily and all that, and not hurt anything at all. So I'm going to change this 640 to parent. Oh, look at that. It already knows what I want to do. And if I hit tab right now or click on that parent.width, it will finish my code. And now it's stretched all the way widthwise now. The same thing I want to apply to the height property. So here I'll select this again, the property drop-down box, go to height, and I'll change this 575 to parent.height. And so I'm going to type in PAR, it knows what I want. I want parent.height, and you'll see the height here also. Now, all my code today you'll find in the description of this YouTube video also. It will link over to our main landing page, which has all the downloads for today. All right, so I got the first 2 missions are now accomplished. I have it widthwise of the parent, height-wise of the parent, but I don't have the right number of columns. So I'm going to go ahead and select the second row again. And you'll notice over here, it says wrap count. And again, you can click on the word wrap count, which you see up here, it has number 1, or I can type in number 3 if I wanted to. Well, let's try 3 and see if that works. And when I click away from it, it uses all the width, and that's probably appropriate here. But again, you can go through and you can hit the word wrap count, jump to the property, change it to 3 there, or do it over there. There's no wrong answer here of how you want to do it. So, as you can see now, we've got our wrap count looking good. Let's see how this looks on an application. I'm going to hit the play button here, and as you can see, it looks great on a device like this. Let's see how it looks on a phone device. I'm going to go with iPhone 14 here. Oh, that looks just terrible, doesn't it? So let's do a little bit of responsive work to make this more responsive. Some of the new controls are responsive out of the gate, but as you can see, this one is not so responsive. Our containers are responsive, some of the new modern controls are responsive, but galleries, unfortunately, are not responsive, built in at least. So we're gonna do a little bit of manual work to do this, and we have whole sessions on this on our on-demand platform. So let's go ahead and select this area right here again, the second row in our gallery, and let's change our 3 up top. Now, because I'm typing code here, I'm gonna prefer you stay up here. And we're gonna use our powerapps function again, and I'll say, hey, if app.width, so if my application is a certain width, if it's less than 800 pixels, okay, sounds good, I'll just make that number up for the time being, then let's make it 1 column wide, otherwise make it 3 columns wide. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways of writing this code, but this is very beginner course here. We're starting from the ground up. So we have 30 courses on Power Platform, just in the Power App side on our platform. So we go a lot deeper in there, but let's just start really basic here in this session. So when I hit the play button now, look at that. So it looks great there. And when I go more to a tablet device, let's see how we look on an iPad. Looks good there. And then, of course, on our device here, we should look pretty good there as well. And it also handles things like how does it look when I flip it and all that. So we're looking pretty good there. All right, so you may want to save at this point just to make sure you're all good. The save is in the top right, and every so often hit a Control S to save your application. So this application so far looks pretty good. So in less than 20 minutes here, you have the application showing data out of Excel. But the same principles work for SQL Server, Salesforce, doesn't matter what your data source of choice is, including SharePoint, it can show that data to you that easily. So now we want to create another screen. We're going to keep this very simple today. I'm going to go on the left side in my tree view. Make sure you have your tree view selected, and I'll hit the new screen. And this time I'm going to do how about we do the split screen here? So the split screen is going to show us some data on the left of our projects, and on the right we'll have a form to enter new projects. There we go. So I've got my screen 2 now selected. Now we're going to come back to the screen in just a few seconds, but for the time being, I'm going to go back to screen 1. Okay, so screen 1 is going to route you over to screen 2. So with that now done, let's go and make sure that when you click on one of these projects, it routes you to screen 2. And of course, we put something in the footer, but you get the idea. We're going to skip that for the time being. All right, and the way we do that, by the way, you can actually notice that if I click inside this container here, there is a fill color right down here where we can select whatever blue we want or whatever, and it looks decent enough to go forward with. I don't know if I had the exact color there, but there it goes. It looks close enough to it. We can, of course, change this header color as well to be our company colors. So you can do that just by selecting the container and then hit that little color icon and then making it whatever color you wish. I think that's more appropriate right there, actually. All right, so again, you make this application your own. No reason you have to follow my colors in any way. There is header colors as well. You'll find up there on the header. All right, so when I select row 2 again, just the whole gallery, let's go and select on the property drop-down box, the on select property. And I'm going to change this word false, which means when I click on something, nothing happens. And I'm going to say, learn your second term here inside of PowerFX, navigate. When I type the word in, it knew exactly what I wanted to do. I'll hit tab, and you'll see it's kind of walking me through this. You can hit tab or you can click on it. And I want to navigate over to screen 2. And I'll use my arrow keys, and I'll hit tab again. And then I'll close a parenthesis after that. So navigate screen 2, and then open and close your parenthesis. A few things to note here. There's all sorts of effects you can do in this, and you could also rename these screens. Ideally, you should rename these screens something like SCR and then details, and SCR welcome. As you rename these screens, every object that uses a code like you're seeing above will rename also. So all your code will not break. But it's a best practice to not call it screen 1, but actually have SCR and what it does, or have GAL for gallery and what it does, and so on. So again, if you want to rename this, you can just double click on gallery 1, or gallery 2 in my case, and I'll make sure mine is called gallery 1 to match your name now too. Okay, so mine's called gallery 1 just like you. If yours is already called gallery 1, just nothing to change there at all. All right, but in reality, for galleries, I usually use GAL and then whatever the function is. Once we have that, we'll go over to, well, actually, let's test drive this. Actually, let's go back to screen one and test drive this. Now, one way you can test drive it, you saw the play button. The other way of test driving is to hold down your Alt key on a PC, or on a Mac, you would hold down the Command key, and then I'll hit the little arrow here or anywhere on the cell like Project Alpha. When I do that, it's going to jump over to the screen here. So let's do it one more time. I hit the play button, hit Project Alpha, and it jumps over to there, and then escape to get out. Or you can hold down the Alt key on a PC, and it will jump right to where we want to go. Okay, so on the left side, ideally I want to show a list of all the tasks that have happened on Project Alpha. On the right side, provide a form to enter new tasks. So let's go to our left side here. And on the left, notice I'm selecting the left container right here. And it's important that you have that left container selected when I do our next thing here. You can guarantee you if it's selected by when you hover over it, hitting that plus button right here. And get rid of that last thing that pops up. And I want to search for table. If you don't see table, you don't have the modern control selected. So I'm going to search for table. We see it already there. And I'm going to select table right here. Not data table, but table. Tables are already responsive out of the gate. So they make it where you can make things super, super easy and clean to use, and it will look just like you want it. So once you have that, you can search for tasks. There we go. And in my case, we can see a list of all the project tasks right here. If I didn't search for it, let me go. You'll see project task right here. Either way, you'll see a green icon that says project task. That's the one you want. It may have an underscore in there also. Now it's going to add a lot more project tasks than we need, a lot more columns than we need, but we can fix that. Now, if you want to go for extra bonus points right now, pause me and try to add some stuff inside of here. So for example, you want to make sure this is the height and width of this and all those kind of things. We can absolutely show that in just a moment here. But I want to go ahead and I'm going to add a header up top for the text words that it's saying task, and I'll add a button at the bottom to go back. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to go to my left container, make sure it's selected. I'm going to hit insert, and I'll add a text label, and I'm going to insert a button. That's going to be out of place right now. It's absolutely fine. There's my text label, and there's my button. Notice it's out of place. So I want this text label right here to be and it's just called text here. So again, I did this under insert and text, and then insert and then button. So you see where it says text here right now? That's called, notice if I do that, it selects it over here on the left side. It's called text canvas 1. If I hit the 3 dot next to that, I can say reorder and then move up. Now it moves it up top. The button, I'm going to keep it right as is. Now for this, I want to go ahead and select this text, and you'll notice I can do it up top where it has a text property, do it on the right where you see this, or I can hit the word text here and it jumps there as well. Either way, I'm going to call this up top inside double quotes project tasks. Perfect. Now if it's not wide enough, we can also select the width property here. You see it's 96 pixels. Pause me now and figure out how do I make this the full width of the container. All right, I'm going to go inside of here and I'll do parent.width. Hopefully you figured it out. If not, no worries. Now we can also go through and make it bold. You'll see that right here. What kind of font size you want? I'll go with 22, that's fine. Do you want regular font? Do you want semi-bold, bold? You do what works for you. And you can also center it if you want as well. Oh, that's not what I want. But you can also center it and do all sorts of neat things you can do around there to make it look a little bit more like yours. All right, so if you're happy with that, I'm gonna go ahead and set by container, and then I'll make it width. There we go. All right, cool. So we're looking pretty good here. I'm happy with this. Again, the only thing you had to change was just the title of it, and I made it parent project task. All the little gyrations I did there really does not matter. So if you missed a step or two, don't worry about it at all. It's just more important that you have the project task in there, and then it's the size the way you want, the font that you want. So with that now done, I want that button to navigate back. So how do we do that based on what you've already learned? I'm going to change that word false on the button to navigate. All right, and I want to go back to screen 1 this time. Perfect. So now when I Alt hold down the Alt key and I click on button, it goes back here. When I hit the arrow, it goes right back here. Perfect. Now, of course, we can filter the number of columns we see, but I want to show you a few things that are pretty nifty. If I hit the play button here, notice that it looks still not too many columns. We can fix all that. But if I'm looking at this on an iPhone, watch what happens. See, it actually is smart enough to recognize how to show that, and it goes from horizontal alignment with this and this to vertical alignment. So we'll come back there again, we'll see that again. So for the button, you can also rename the word button here on the text property to, go back, whatever you want to do. It's all good. Okay, now that we've got that, we'll do some extra little spice on this a little bit later here. We can also select the table, and you notice here where it says fields, you can click on that word edit on fields and remove some of the columns so it fits better. I'm going to leave them there and we'll come back as we have time to add more flair to our application. All right, now we want to add a form on the right side. To do that, I'm going to hit the play button here, or the plus button, excuse me, and then I'll select form. Again, you can also search for form, and you'll see two types of forms here. You'll see the form here, and you'll see an edit form. I'm going to select just the word form. All right, then we'll point to project task again, just like we did before. There we go. And then it's going to show what columns do you want to add. So we'll do that by either hitting edit fields here or fields here. It does the exact same thing. If I do it here, it's going to open up this little add field button, and then I'll go through and check the fields I want. Now I'm going to check quite a few of these. I'm going to add task ID, the status, I'm starting at the bottom here, the project ID and the project, the priority, the number of hours, the employee ID, the description, and then I will leave it at that for the time being, but we'll go with those. We'll leave all the top ones here, and then we went with the bottom ones that you're seeing here. Not that important because each of these sessions today are going to be independent by themselves. I'll hit the add button, and it's going to add a pretty bad looking version of it, but before I go away from it, I'm going to scroll down and look for description. Do you see description? As you kind of scroll down, once you find description, which is probably at the bottom here, I'm going to change this from edit text to edit multi-line text, and then click away. You can always get back there again by hitting fields or fields on the right side, either way, and then go to the very bottom and then change it to edit multi-line text. Either way, it does the same thing. Now, I don't like how this is shown right now. Right now, it has 3 columns wide, and so I'm going to make that 1 column so it's better on a phone, and there we go. Now, a lot of these columns are going to be automatically entered for us. For example, task ID is going to auto set. The status will auto set. Most of these are going to be auto set. We're only going to use ultimately like 2 or 3 columns here. Let's see how we can do that now. So let's first of all, I'm going to give you 2 lines of code in the chat window, not the chat window, but in the description of this video. You'll find the code to reference here. And to do that, these 2 lines of code, we don't have a whole lot of time to explain what's happening here, but let me show you in the spreadsheet. This is normally done automatically by a database, but to scroll down, you'll see there is a task ID here somewhere. All right, task ID right there. I want to auto number that and have the next one set to 72 and so on and so on. So that's what we're going to do. To do that, on the left side, we see the word app. Under Tree View, I'll select the word app, and where you see the start screen, I'm going to go back to formulas this time. A formula is reusable code that I can tap into anytime I wish. And I'm going to paste in the 2 lines of code that you saw before. These 2 lines of code, what these do at a high level here, is creating 2 variables that I can use over and over. Not only variables, but 2 little functions I can use over and over again. The task ID is going to say, hey, go to my database, take out the word task, replace it with nothing. Get the number from that, add 1 to it, and then put the word task dash in front, which will basically give us what the function that we cared about. There's 100 ways of doing this. The employee ID will be looked up based on my email address, user.email, and then get me the employee ID from that. Not important that you understand all this function right now. Just copy and paste so, and it will give you all the information that you wish. And we'll come back more if we have time. All right, so these 2 lines of code, again, hit the word app, go to formulas, and then paste in those 2 lines of code. Anytime I refer to max task ID, it will then use that there. Let's do the task ID first and see how that works. So to do that, you can right-click on Task ID and say Unlock First. What Microsoft has done here is they are protecting you from yourself. Everything is locked by default in a form. By you unlocking it and say, no, Microsoft, I've got this. I'm going to go ahead and do this myself. So I'm going to go ahead and then after I've unlocked it, I'm going to select the actual text box itself. So you have your label up top. You can change its name. You can do whatever you want to here. But I'm going to select the text input here. And I'm going to go to my properties here to value. And then I'm going to type in MAX. There's Max Task ID. And then I'll hit Tab. And then we're going to see in a moment here, it takes a few seconds here, see the little ants up here racing. There's my latest Task ID of 72. So that kind of gets us started here. Now the other ones are going to be a little easier here. There's a few that we'll have a little trouble with, but not that much. For status, I'm going to right-click and unlock it. And then select the text label. Make sure it's a text box you're selecting, not the label and not the box, but just that little input right there. Strike the code, and I'll put in double quotes, in progress. All right, in double quotes. Make sure it's spelled just this way. The next one is the project ID. I want to go ahead and display. I'm going to right-click and unlock it. I want to display the project ID that was selected earlier. So again, I'm going to strike this code, and I'll type in GAL. And it says Gallery 1. Perfect. I'll hit Tab for Gallery 1. And when you don't know what to do, simply do a dot there, and I'll do Selected. I'll do dot again, and then I'll select Project ID. Now, for project, it's the exact same. Right-click, unlock, and see if you can do this one. Again, I'm going to go ahead and change the value here to Gallery 1. Dot selected, dot project name this time. I know I'm going fast here. That's intentional because we're covering so much right now. But you can pause me and play this back as many times as you need to do this. Lastly is the priority. I'm going to right-click and unlock it, and I'm going to go ahead and double quotes here. I'm going to say something like, how about normal, what was this? What are the priorities here? I think one's high, and there they are, medium. So I'll make this a medium in this case. All right, good enough. Now we could, if you wanted to, select this, and we could make it invisible now, and it creates more wiggle room for us. It's up to you. I'm going to leave mine unhidden right now, so they give you enough wiggle room to kind of play with and see this. The last one is employee ID. I'm going to right-click, unlock. And of course, I'm going to go in double quotes, and I'll type in employee. Oh, I typed in E, and there it is, employee ID. It's going to read that. Now, if I type the record correctly, it should hopefully pull up the employee ID that I did earlier. Again, in my employees table, I added this record right here with my email address. And I misspelled my own name. Oh my gosh. So that's how you can do that. So make sure if you did not get a record right now, make sure that your email address matches where you're at right now. So ultimately, my users only have to add the number of hours and the description, and keep in mind, you can hide all these fields. Like you don't want somebody typing their own employee ID in here. They can go through and just unhide it if you want as well. So it's up to you. I'm going to leave mine all unhidden for the time being. Now, all we need now is a button. So I'm going to select, make sure you have the container selected, right? Container. And then hit Insert, and then Button again. We're almost done. Let's call this button in the right area, Save. Now, to insert this data, I'm going to go up top where you see On Select. You may also have to change this property to On Select if you can't find it. It's up to you. So I'm going to go to On Select, and all you have to do to send data to a database or update data is Submit Form and the form name. This form name is called Form 1 right now. There it is. And you can see its name right there, Form 1. Of course, you'd want to rename the name of the form. There's one more piece we want to do. To do that, we'll go ahead and select Form 1. Now, this piece here, we'll go to our drop-down box here, and we'll look for On Success. This basically fires off whenever a record has been added successfully to the database. When a record's been added successfully to the database, I want to go ahead and reset this form, but let me show you the problem real quick here. I'm going to play this, and look what happens. My form is not showing data. And this is because my form right now is in edit mode. So again, I'm going to select Form 1. You see on the right here, it says, let me make sure Form 1 is selected. There it is. And you see on the right, with Form 1 selected on the left side, you'll see that the form right now is in edit mode. I'm going to change it to new mode. But here's the problem. Once I submit my data, it's going to go back to edit mode, even though I told it to stay in new mode. So by simply changing this to new, I'm going to then go back to on success and tell it, nope, stay in new form mode, and tell it what form to do. Perfect. Then I'll hit a semicolon, which means do this, then do this. I want to notify the user. Again, all this code is in the description of this video also. I'll say success, do a comma, and I'll say that was successful. And then I'll do a comma again. I'm going to show that message for 2,000 milliseconds. Lastly, I'll do a semicolon one more time, and I'm going to navigate you back to the other screen. So I'll go back to screen 1. There we go. So those three things are all going to happen serially, one after another after another. So with the submit form function now in place, we want to go through and do a few last little tweaks here to preview our application. A few things to note. If you get an error when you try to submit this button, it could be because a task ID is set to a number that's already there, so we can go through and actually look at the number to make sure that the number is fine. But let's hit the play button and let's give this a whirl here. All right, so I'll put the number of hours here, it'll be 45, and blah, 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 and I'll hit save. Once I do that, it is going to go back. It then put my code up here that we saw before, success, and it's all ready to go. Now, a few more things to note here. There's a few bugs with Excel as a data source that when I go back here again, this table is gone, and there's a few ways of getting it back in case that does happen to you. You can get rid of the S and add the S back, and it will then look at that again and show us all that. Now, we also, the only last little criteria we did not add here is we want to take this right here, we want to filter it down to where I'm only seeing the items that are for this project. To do that, we can go in front of the code for this, type in the word filter. This is the code under items property. Type the word filter, do a comma, and we can say project ID, here it is equal to, just like we did before, gallery1.selected.project ID. Perfect. Again, this code is in the chat window. You can go ahead and steal this code right from the chat window description. Now you see rows 10. If I go over to another one now, here we go, holding the Alt key down, go to Project Delta, and we'll see now we have 4 rows in this one. So it's working great. And of course, we can preview that in different form factors to make it work. So if I put, again, 2 hours, blah, 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 hit save, and now we can see that it'll go back. And then if I go to Project Alpha, we'll see there's my junk record I added before with 10 records. Before I had 9. So a few gotchas you might experience. It might be that the task ID was not set properly. So look at the Excel spreadsheet and make sure that you're setting this to whatever the last number was plus 1. Otherwise, you'll get an error like the row has already been added. The other thing, we went a little bit fast here. We can hide all these columns. And there's other things we can do if you want to kind of clean up some stuff here. It's our last thing we can do here. All right, so we want to make sure this is using all the available space. We can go through and select this table and say, yep, let's go ahead and look at the height property of this table. Notice it has some pretty squirrely code in here. We're going to make it simplify this a little bit and say parent.height, just like we did before. All right, notice it's too long now. So when I subtract from that, let me go over to the pane here and see, there it is. I want to subtract from that the button minus the text label up top. So I do, all right, so take that minus, all right, text, there it is, text canvas 1 dot height. So take whatever height this guy right here is and just subtract it from it. And then also take out the button height, button canvas 1 dot height. Boom. Now we can see everything is stretched out accordingly. The last thing you could do if you wanted to is go to fields and you can remove some of the junk fields that are there so you actually can see the darn code that's there. Right now it's hard to see any of these fields, but by hitting field here, you can remove the ones that you don't care about just by going remove, and that will remove some of those fields that are not necessary, and it will start to compress that as time goes on. So this is a great way to just kind of inch your way into Canvas applications. There's a lot more to this. And you can find a lot more on our website for free at our App in a Day workshop. You'll find that on our on-demand platform. Just go to pragmaticworks.com and hit Start Learning in the upper right, and then sign up for a free account, no credit card required, and you can watch that class with a whole bunch of other classes for free there. It's the App in a Day course, which walks you through an end-to-end example that goes a lot deeper than what we can cover in 1 hour. We also have a lot of other courses out there. There are about 30 courses on the Power platform right now, and we're adding more all the time. Thanks so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the Q&A section right after this.